This makeshift memorial on the grounds of the Apalachee High School is a chilling reminder of the horrors that unfolded inside on the 4th of September. 2 students and 2 teachers were shot dead in the 30th mass killing in the US so far this year. With elections around the corner, the school shooting has thrust gun control back into the spotlight. The school day had only just begun when the violence unfolded. The alleged shooter was a student of the school. He left his algebra class around 9:45 a.m. The classroom doors lock automatically, and near the end of the class, the suspect knocked on the door to try and come in. Another student went to open the door but apparently saw the gun and refused to let him in. The suspected shooter turned to a nearby classroom and opened fire.
I can just see him kind of turn to his side, like more within my right, and you just hear gunshots. We've got 10 to 15 of them out once back to back, and then everyone just kind of ducks to the floor.
At 10:20 a.m., the alarm was raised when someone pushed a wearable panic button to notify authorities of an active shooter. Minutes later, police were on the scene and immediately encountered the accused. He surrendered straight away.
The shooter quickly realized that if he did not give up, that it would end with an OIS, or an officer-involved shooting. He gave up, got on the ground, and the deputy took him into custody.
One of the victims was 14-year-old Mason Shemahon, who had only recently started at Apalachee. He was described as someone who was always positive. The second student to be killed was 14-year-old Christian Angulo, who was remembered by friends as a free spirit who loved to make others laugh. 53-year-old Christina Irimi was a math teacher who her students described as patient and caring. A second math teacher, 39-year-old Richard Aspinwall, was also killed. He was also the defensive coordinator of the school's football team.
Coach was an amazing guy. He pushed us to be great at what we did and for our team. So it was really hard to lose someone that pushed himself to really make us better and to make sure that we're better at what we do.
The suspect who allegedly opened fire has been identified as 14-year-old Colt Gray, a student at the school. Gray used an AR-15 style rifle to carry out the shooting. He has been charged as an adult with 4 counts of murder. What's surprising is that the teen was previously on the radar of law enforcement after he was tied to several online threats reported anonymously to the FBI last year. At that time, Colt was questioned along with his father, who said he did have hunting guns in the house, but he did not allow unsupervised access to them. A day after the shooting, 54-year-old Colin Gray was also arrested. He is facing 4 charges of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 of cruelty to children.
These charges stem from Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son, Colt, to possess a weapon.
For a maximum total possible penalty for the charges that you currently are facing of 180 years imprisonment.
The shooting in Georgia has become the latest flashpoint ahead of the November 5 election. Vice President Kamala Harris went off script at a rally in New Hampshire to condemn the gun violence.
It's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is. We've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all.
President Joe Biden has been a strong supporter for gun control measures. And while campaigning in the past, Harris has mentioned an assault weapon ban and universal background checks. Her running mate Tim Walz, who is a former teacher, called for action after the shooting.
And it's a reminder to the rest of the country, we've got work to do, and I, for one, am sick and tired of hearing about thoughts and prayers rather than actually doing something.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump called the shooter a sick and deranged monster. But Trump's running mate J.D. Vance triggered controversy by calling the Georgia school shooting a fact of life.
What is going to solve this problem, and I really do believe this, is look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools so that a person who walks through the front door we've got to bolster security so that if a psycho wants to walk through the front door and kill a bunch of children, they're not able to.
The controversial remark was immediately pointed out by Harris, who said that school shootings are not just a fact of life. The Republican Party's platform for 2024 makes very little mention of firearms or gun control, with only a brief mention of the right to bear arms when talking about fundamental freedoms. The powerful National Rifle Association pumped in more than $31 million to back Trump's winning campaign in 2016. In the 2023-24 school year, at least 144 incidents of gunfire were reported on school grounds across the US. But will the Georgia school shooting put safety on the ballot on the 5th of November?